everyone, today's video is on central angles and arc measure. So central angle, just by definition, is an angle with a vertex at the center of the circle. So let's take a look at the circle that's over here with center I and see if we can name some central angles. So let's break out some colors here. If we're looking at a central angle, we know that the vertex has to be at the center. I'm going to talk about this angle over here, and I can call it angle FIE. That's going to reference this angle, this central angle right here. So one example, and notice this is your angle symbol. You have to include that in front of each one of your angles. So we're going to use angle FIE as one example of a central angle. So let's switch up the colors and let's do it again. Let's see if we can find another central angle. There's so many different answers in here. So I'm just going to go around maybe to this side of the circle next. And let's say that I want to talk about this angle here. I know the vertex, when I draw it in, is at the center of the circle. And I continue around my shape. So I could also have angle GIU. And notice too, I can call this angle GIU, or call it angle UIG. The order of the U and the G doesn't make a difference, but that I, that vertex, has to be in the center. And the same thing held true in that first example too. If I go back to that, angle FIE could have also been named as angle EIF. You can always switch around the first and the last letter. Doesn't make a difference. It's that middle, that vertex, that really does make a difference. So let's go one more example. Let's say I want to put two parts together. Let's say I wanted this angle here. So in this angle here, I'm starting out at this point F. I go again to the center at point I, and then I go down to point U here. So this could have been named as angle, this one could have been named as angle FIU. Again, we could have switched the order of the letters, totally fine, and it could have been angle UIF as well. So if we scroll down and look at some of the other problems, we need to not only be able to identify a central angle, but we'd have to be able to determine the arc measure of an angle, again, given that central angle. So we have a whole bunch of central angles here, very similar problem to up above. I just put some numbers in this time. And the way that we read this notation here, that M just represents measure. Note there is no M on my diagram, and even if there was a point M, it would be a capital letter M, not a lowercase letter m. The M in front just means measure. And notice too that we have a set of questions on the left that use two letters. That means that those are going to be both minor arcs. So my answers there I can expect to be less than 180 degrees. Versus over here, I'm using three letters now, so I can expect that the answers there are going to be major arcs. So now instead of talking about the central angles like we did in the first example, we're talking about now the arc measure. So we're talking about the measure of the section of the circle going around it. So if we're looking at FG as our example, well, FIG, the central angle is 100 degrees. So that means this inscribed arc here, this intercepted arc here from F to G is going to be the exact same degree measure as its central angle. So if we're looking at 100 degrees here, we're looking at 100 degrees here as our minor arc. And just like expected, we said before that this was a minor arc, so our answer we did expect to be less than 180 degrees. Let's look at our next minor arc. This one wants EF. So arc EF is just saying, okay, well, what's the degree measure from E to F? Well, if its central angle between E and F is 70 degrees, that means that this arc here, this intercepted arc, is also 70 degrees. All right, let's look at some major arcs now. Our next arc is going to be arc FEU. So we're going to start at F. We're going to go through point E. and we're going to end at point U. So this really, now we have two different parts. We have two different sections here. We know that this arc measure over here from F to E is 70. We can determine that the arc measure from E to U is going to be 50. So in that case, to figure out the measure from the arc FEU, we would just add those two parts together. So 70 plus 50 gives us 120 degrees as the measure of that arc. Let's go ahead and see. So this one actually is not considered a major arc. This one would still be considered a minor arc because it's less than half of the circle. So let's see, is our other one going to be a minor arc too? GUF. GUF. This one's definitely a major arc. This one wants almost the entire circle. GUF. So that wants a big chunk of our circle here. So it wants really everything except for this 100-degree measure up here, this F to G. So the easiest way to solve this problem is just to subtract. We know a full circle is 360 degrees. If we subtract out the 100 degrees, the only piece that we don't want, then that gives us 260 degrees. And that would be the measure of our arc GUF. So this one would be the only one that's an example of a major arc. Everything else is a minor arc. Thank you so much for watching.